Hi, welcome to another conversation as part of the Mapping Future Imaginaries video conversations. And today I'm talking with Jacklyn Brickman, and I'm really happy to welcome you, Jacklyn, because your work is just so fascinating. And I know you have some amazing things to share today. I understand that this will be about your work in relation to some of the themes and ideas that we have in Mapping Future Imaginaries. So I'll let you get started. Thank you.
Great. Well, hello, and thank you so much, Linda, for hosting me today and for all of the work that you've been doing for Mapping Future Imaginaries. It's been wonderful to be a part of the organization over the last, I don't know, year, 2 years now. And continue to be inspired by the other members and the projects that have been we've been working on collectively and individually as well. So again, by way of introduction, my name is Jacklyn Brickman, and I am a multidisciplinary visual artist. My practice oscillates between a research-based practice and practice-based research. My work entangles science fact with fiction to address social and environmental topics by employing natural objects, processes, and technology. Sorry, I'm looking over to the side and it's distracting me. I do this through installation, animation, video, sound, and performance with a particular interest in cross-disciplinary collaboration and social engagement. At the heart of my interests are people. The way people interact with one another, with their environment, and with me and my work. My materials depend on the site I am working in, the conceptual underpinnings of the work, or processes and experimentations that are happening within my studio. And what you can see now is an excerpt of a video exploration that was made as part of the mission nucleus in the SEED simulation laboratory, where co-pilots filled a large glass globe with millions of dandelion seeds. And I'll explain what that means shortly. Over the past 3 years, I've been producing within the framework of the Department of Planetary Futures. As a department, I can move between multiple projects and collaborations that extend beyond my own individuality, my name, myself as an artist. The Department of Planetary Futures is a fictional entity through which multi-species collaborative experiments are employed to investigate the interrelationships humans have with other life forms and one another. At the heart of these endeavors is a desire to connect to the surrounding world and its organisms with care, humility, to learn from, engage with, and speculate possible livable futures. Contributors are multidisciplined and multi-generational. We have some children. And I have all of my collaborators listed on the interest slide of each project that I'm going to discuss today, but I wanted to mention before I get started that not all, but most of these areas have been developed in conjunction with Catherine Noosa-Logan, who is also a member of Mapping Future Imaginaries. In terms of how this work relates to MFI, I see that happening directly in a couple of ways. The organizational structure of the Department of Planetary Future maps out opportunities for social engagement in various arenas and with a variety of methods. And then when we look closely at each division, we can see that although the approaches vary, the goals are always grounded in engaging with people and how they understand their environment. I thought we would look at a couple of examples to help illustrate these ideas. This is a slide containing 3 dyed onion root tips, which when viewed through a microscope display mitosis or cell division. Cells divide so living things can grow. ACE, Allium cepa stella erratica, or onion planet in Latin, was a multimedia installation of a fictional laboratory that implemented experiments to develop a new planet through onion propagation. Methods and procedures using live onions were performed daily for 4 weeks, made with breathing inflatable sculptures of various sizes, sculptural objects, video projection, and laboratory equipment. I worked in the lab daily, tending to the onions and performing experiments. Tours were offered, including inside the large breathing growth chamber 3, where bolting onions were nurtured. Visitors could page through the lab book and clipboards full of notes. Failed protoplanet attempts were preserved for educational purposes. This onion planet origin video was projected inside the laboratory. NASA footage of planetary formation merges with the experiments that took place in my studio and the laboratory as I developed the project, and really works as a visual investigation into the realm of astrobiological planet formation. To logicize ACE, I worked with both a molecular geneticist and an astronomer. They helped me build this impossible narrative into a question of a possibility, a speculative hypothesis. I also worked with a biolab manager to properly outfit my lab. Of course, planet formation and cell division are two entirely different processes. I know this, but here I beg the question, what if? The ACE laboratory closed in March of 2020, just as the pandemic was setting in. All onions were preserved in lidded glass jars with vinegar and had been stored away for about 2 years until they were exhibited in the Special Collections Fluid Preserved Planetesimal Specimens Archive, which is really inspired by the wet specimens you would see in a natural history museum, and was installed in a locked Special Collections room in the Ohio State University's Fine Arts Library. As a department, we are always looking to engage in non-traditional exhibition spaces, because really this is what provides the opportunity to have real discussions with people who aren't necessarily seeking an art experience or opportunity. This exhibition featured 54 jars containing onion planetesimals preserved in vinegar, a video tour and explanation of the ACE Nebular Mitosis Laboratory, and 2 publications outlining the scientific processes of the lab book, and archival images. The publications are inverse yet complementary bodies of text which reflect the interdisciplinary nature of ACE, of the ACE laboratory, and my broader creative practice. Plants approaches the work as an artist statement, while Experiments is written as a scientific journal article. The Seed Simulation Laboratory analyzes seed pods as tiny survival methodologies. Botanical research shows that seed dispersal is a primary function for plant species survival, and there are a great variety of ways that seeds have developed dispersal methodologies by evolutionary design. The Seed Simulation Laboratory explores these dispersal modes through experimentation with repurposed mechanical devices and through performance as an investigative process of replicating plant species survival tactics. As collaborative principal investigators, or co-pilots, we focused first on wind dispersal methods of plant survival, including gliders, parachutes, helicopters, and flutterers. And just for reference, the device you're looking at that's in use is a hand mixer or a beater that's been deconstructed, and then you can see there's some swamp milkweed that's being spun around inside. The seeds have all left from being spun. The Seed Simulation Laboratory and Mission Nucleus was an interactive art installation, performance set, and viewing room. The Mission Nucleus served as a control room or viewing station where performance and experiment documentation came together in a multi-channel video and sound experience. We initiated a citizen co-pilot program to extend being a co-pilot to the broader community. As our augmented reality face filters were engaged with, we added photos and videos to a reel that was exhibited across from the Mission Nucleus. Humans often imagine themselves as separate from nature, enacting harmful practices of domination as opposed to living in reciprocity with the natural world. How might our relationships with imagined planetary futures be more productive if they begin from a process of listening to and drawing from the wisdom of plants? How might humans and nature be better served collectively if humans practice plant-based survival tactics? Delving into questions regarding becoming non-human and interspecies relationships, co-pilots engaged in a series of experiments analyzing seed pod movements and translating those into both planned and improvisational human movements. What are the human bodily limitations in attempts to practice seed dispersal mechanisms as a human survival tactic? Where might humor and joy be found in the practice of recognizing human limitations in relationship to nature as opposed to domination? Dream Clinic was an art installation, media performance, and socially engaged event where clinicians gathered and processed the dreams of visitors with the goal of building a collective practice for the future. In times of social disparity, attacks on bodily agency and abortion rights, economic strife, global pandemic-induced isolation, climate threat, and instability, it is important now more than ever to come together as a collective body of voices to dream the future we want and need for the health of our society and the planet we live on. Dream clinicians, myself, Catherine Nusa-Logan, and Amber Ellison, worked alongside members of Dream Clinic Gallery and the public to collect, record, and process dreams into a collaborative narrative for a just future. This multimedia event included sound, video, performance, written, and spoken word. Participants were given brief instructions. They wrote their dreams on swaths of cloth. Their dreams could be hopes for the future, dreams they've had, or things they consciously dream about, or actively dream about, I should say. They then hang their dreams on the line and it is pulled into the laboratory to be processed. So in the video documentation, we set it up so that on the left, you can see the dreamer's experience outside of the laboratory, and on the right, you can see what's happening inside the laboratory. Once in the lab, dreams are read into a microphone, recorded with a loop pedal, which repeats and overlays each dream on top of the other and projects them over a speaker into the space. The dreams are documented both photographically and by hand. And then they're sent into processing where they mingle with color and water before they are dried. Within the video documentation, you can see we have a little fan and we hand dry them. And then the dreams are finally sewn together and they're wound on a spool into the clouds. A compendium of pathway encounters is composed of scientific, experiential, and embodied data collected over the course of several months by the Forestry Exploratorium, which is a satellite office at the Woodward Nature Preserve in Columbus, Ohio. As a practice, the Exploratorium personnel, Catherine Nusa-Logan and myself, visited the site 12 times, often accompanied virtually by Catherine Moore, during the first 6 months of the year of 2022. Site visit duration times ranged between 60 and 90 minutes in length, temperatures between 18 and 71 degrees Fahrenheit, and encompassed several cycles of the moon. The goal of these visits was to form a practice in conjunction with personnel movement along the pathway and to embody the movements and personalities of the living and non-living materialities encountered in the process. Over the course of the half year, personnel developed cyclical relationships with the path, the natural habitat, the community center, the playground, and with one another. These connections spread into their everyday lives and left an impact greater than anticipated. A compendium of pathway encounters is a visual report of these investigations and interactions, an homage to the Woodward Nature Preserve's urban forestry and to the city of Columbus. As both Catherine and I have moved out of Columbus now, and we finished this project, her from New York City and myself from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So it was kind of it felt like a love letter to our shared place. And to wrap up my share with you today, I wanted to speak briefly about two projects that the department is currently working on. So I was an artist research fellow at the Folger Institute's Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. last year, although the fellowship was virtual. My project, the Division of Acclimatization, will engage in a recontextualization of archival materials in the Folger Institute Shakespeare Library collection, woven with artificial intelligence to create a predictive reality aimed to generate dialogue about the collective social and environmental experience of the now. Really, how does literature, historical literature, continue to affect the way that we experience and see ourselves? That's what I'm interested in exploring through the lens of the Department of Planetary Futures. And then I'm also in the beginning stages of a collaboration within the Division of Aeronautics. Courier is the name of a choreographed speculative film that will look closely at females in flight, converging focus on bees as a crucial component of preserving and protecting the ecological balance and biodiversity in nature, and the profound influence women have had in the flight industry. So Courier will follow the movements of cadets aiding the safe travel of ambiguous living cargo interdimensionally via aircraft. So again, thanks for inviting me, Linda. And I guess I just wanted to ask if you had any questions for me or.
Lots and lots of comments, really. And perhaps a question as well is what I love about the way that you work, Jacklyn, is it really, you kind of embody that more than humanness because, the construction of the Department of Planetary Futures with these subdivisions opens up ways of working not just with other people, but with lots of other more than human collaborators. And I just really enjoy hearing about all the ways that you explore not a single project, but actually that very early on when you showed us that kind of diagram of the structure of the department and how you've kind of conceptualized collaboration in these kind of post-human times, I think is really, really interesting. So, perhaps the question is, do you yourself think that this is a continued way of working for you? Do you think you'll ever go back to being Jacklyn Brickman, the artist?
Yeah, that's a really great question that I'm asking myself all the time because I think, in some ways I keep asking myself or telling myself I should do something that's just me. But I think that every time a project comes up, it just seems to fit into this realm. And I generally I feel like it's important to take the path that's sort of supplying itself for you. And so I've continued to follow it, but I do keep wondering or asking myself, is it time to do something that's just you? Because it has been a couple of years. I've spoken a lot with Catherine and other collaborators about, making sure that the department feels like it's not just mine and that it's something that other people can join in on. So it hasn't happened yet, but I think in the near future there will be projects that are led by others that maybe don't even involve me, and I think it will be a really important step for DPF as a department to take in again, into making sure that there aren't any hierarchies and that it is a collaborative being in and of itself.
Yeah, and you know, like the kind of association of the department with its divisions and things is apolitical, isn't it? I mean, organizations across the world, no matter their political kind of affiliations or what governments they are, use this structure. And so it could be a capitalist structure, or it could be a kind of flatter egalitarian structure. So I think it's great that those questions are being asked, so that it remains true to the you know, the approach that you've taken, this departmental structural approach. And because they're everywhere, they don't align with one particular kind of political leaning, and I think that's its strength, to be honest. It's really good. And also, you know, like there is a problematic, I think, of trying to be when you're dealing with these topics. Certainly, I think it is problematic then trying to be the sole originator, the artist, and being the sole originator, because it does then it takes you a few steps back in terms of what you want to achieve conceptually, not you individually, but, you know, I mean, I think artists generally have that struggle. So I think this is really clever, you know, the way that you've I'm not suggesting it's gimmicky clever, but I just think it's a genuinely clever way of working that remains true to your ideas, you know, and the things that you want to do. So it's been really wonderful to learn about the projects, and I'm very excited to see more about these ones in progress. That's fantastic. So
thank you so much. Thank you for your comments and question and really the invitation to be here. I really enjoyed this.
it's really great. So thank you very much, Jacklyn, and people will be able to watch this and enjoy it, and all the other conversations.
All right.